Good evening. Welcome in to Align and Achieve Your Budget Reboot. How are you today? I'm Veronica Dangerfield, your financial cheerleader. Yay! And I'm so happy and pleased to welcome you to one of my favorite presenters. I'm telling you, hands down, my favorite presenters in the known universe today as he talks about align and achieve your budget reboot. Um, I also wanted to let you guys know that today is National Daughters Day. So if you have a daughter, please give her a hug for me. And it's National Quesadilla Day. Tortillas and warm cheese. Yummy, yummy. And it's also National Open the Magic Day. And these are for picture books. So yeah, it is September the 25th. Can you believe how fast time is going? It's just amazing that it's already headed towards the holiday season. I wanted to let you know that our October webinars are going to be extremely popular. We have on October the 9th, estate planning, the basics. And then we have on October the 23rd, estate planning, part two, having an honest conversation. Really, really great information, really good presenters. And it's all the information that you actually need, but you're not quite that excited about. So make sure that you sign up for those two webinars. I want you guys to know that you can sit back and relax and just chill because you will all get a link for this presentation delivered to your handy email very, very shortly after we do the presentation. So now, again, I would love to introduce you to my favorite webinar presenter. He has been with Patelco for a while. He's charismatic, he's fun, and we both share our love for international world travelers. And so please, with no further ado, welcome the amazing Andrew Farrell. Yay!
Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's always, I love your introductions. You're the best hype man out there, so I appreciate it. Yes, that is my name, Andrew Farrell. I will be your webinar host today for Align and Achieve Your Budget Reboot. So, to me, Align and Achieve basically just means how we can realign our budget after irregular things are thrown our way. This is stuff like summer expenses, holiday expenses, any of those kinds of things that may be quote unquote budget killers. How do we realign our budget after that fact and then get back on track so that we are not blindsided when, future irregular expenses come our way, and we can still work towards achieving financial freedom, which is what all of us, I think, want out of life, right? Is to be financially free, financially able, and ready to take on the world. So, a little bit about me. My name is Andrew Farrell. For those of you who have not joined a webinar with me thus far, welcome. I've been with Patelco for about 6 years. I started with Patelco when I moved to California from Ohio about 6 years ago. I started at a branch just because I needed a job when I first got here and Patelco was hiring. And so I, threw my hat in the ring and here I am 6 years later. I've always been a credit union person, but working for a credit union really made me fall in love with how they operate, really what the credit union difference is, what the vision and mission is. I love being able to help people. So I've really found my footing within Patelco. And in my current role out as a community engagement specialist and a financial educator, I now do a lot of community events. I work with a lot of the people in the areas that we serve, and I also work really closely with college students and with youths to try to get the youths of our area kind of in the right mind frame to make wise financial decisions as they go about their lives. In my spare time, I also double as a trivia host. So anybody who lives in or around the Oakland area, I'm going to do a little shameless plug right now. If you ever are in the Oakland area on a Tuesday, Mad Oak Bar, it is on 12th Street, kind of by Lake Merritt in that area. Tuesdays from 7 to around 9-ish. I host a weekly trivia night every night there. It's a lot of fun. It's free to join. Mad Oak in Oakland. Come out and see me if you're in the area. Beyond that, I'm a big outdoors person. I love nature. I love hiking. I love canoeing. I love camping. I love going off the grid any way that I can. I'm a big movie buff. I watch a ton of movies. One of my happy places is the movie theater. It sounds so cheesy, but I really feel like the best way to consume film is when you can be immersed on a huge screen with huge sound. So if there's ever any movie showing, you can normally find me there. I also like painting. I like visual art. I've recently started trying my hand at tennis, which is harder than it looks, and it doesn't even look that easy. So you can imagine how much I'm struggling with it, but I'm doing my best. Practice makes perfect, right? Alrighty. Speaking of practice making perfect, I want to share a quote with everybody. That wasn't even a planned segue, but it worked really well. The secret of making progress is to get started. The first step in progress in any area of life is to just take the plunge, make the first step, and guess what? That is what all of you guys have done today. So, first and foremost, give yourselves a pat on the back. Give yourselves a round of applause for just being in the mindset of getting started and joining the webinar today and starting to take the reins of your financial journey. You have displayed open-mindedness to new ideas and new proposals, and that is worth commending. Change is not just enhancing existing practices that you have. It's really about inviting in new solutions or new possible habits that can help with your health and wellness in any capacity that you may need it in. And again, the first step for all of that is to just make the first step and to get started. We're all doing that today. So we've all scratched the first line item off our list right there. Give yourself a pat on the back, just like that. All righty. Our motto here on these webinars is to get ready, be ready, stay ready. So what does that mean? It's pretty self-explanatory. It's a constant state of readiness for whatever life throws your way, because life does love to throw curveballs your way. So getting ready is what we're doing right now. It's taking the first step. It's putting in the work to get started. And that is a very key first step in the get ready, be ready, stay ready process. Now, once you get ready, you will then be ready for any curveballs life throws your way, which is great. That is a great present state to be in, is a state of readiness. But it does not stop there. Maintenance is key in the get ready, be ready, stay ready lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle. Staying on top of this readiness and this positive habits that you form for yourself, that is the most key, so that you not only get ready, you not only be ready, but you then stay ready. And this not only applies to budgeting and aligning and achieving and all that good stuff, it really applies to all areas of your life. So just remember, get ready, be ready, stay ready. Alrighty, before we get into the meat of this webinar, I want to start with a poll. So what I want to ask everybody is, what was the biggest expense that hit your budget this summer? Travel expenses, maybe increased utility expenses, maybe you've got kids going back to school or you're in college yourself, some back to school expenses, birthdays, celebrations. I like to go to a lot of, street festivals and things like that in the summer. Home improvement. You can select multiple. So if many of these apply to you, let me know. I'm just curious to know what everyone's biggest expenses were. Increased utility expenses, that is a big one right now, especially in some of the hotter parts of California. AC can go through the roof. Travel expenses, that was a big one for me. I'm seeing a lot of home improvement expenses also. Obviously, summer is a really good time to do those much needed home improvement expenses that come our ways, and a lot of other ones also. A lot of people with some outside the box expenses that came your way too. Yeah, it's looking like we had kind of ran the gamut here for all of our summer expenses. And these can be things that can be costly. Travel, home improvement especially, can really, rack up a large bill. So how do we get back on track after we have done these large summer expenses? I'm going to tell you we create a budget. So we are gonna share results right here. Oops. Yeah, 34%, 30%, 24, 29. We've got a little bit of back to school, some birthday and celebrations, but it really did kind of run the gamut here for all the options. So clearly, summer can be a pretty costly time of the year. How do we get back on track? We budget. So a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. A budget really is a roadmap for your income that goes towards your expenses, your debt, your goals, and also fun. It is just a map for your money. And just like having a roadmap for navigation when you're out on the road yourself, without a budget or without that roadmap, your funds can also sometimes find a way to get lost. You don't like being lost when you're out on the road, so you know your money does not like being lost when it's just going, willy-nilly. You want to make sure that you keep your money going in and out of your account on that roadmap that you set for yourself. Now, this roadmap that we speak of, things may pop up from time to time on the roadmap, which is what we have right here. Right now is a very tricky time on the roadmap because we are right in between two kind of big ticket items of the year. On the one side, kind of behind us, is recovering from the summer. So as we just saw in that poll, pretty much all of us had expenses in one way or the other, whether it was travel, whether it was home improvement, whether utility bills went up, maybe it was something else. Regardless, we are probably reeling from some of the money that we spent outside of the ordinary in the summer. But wait, we don't really have a lot of time to reel from that because it looks like just on the horizon, on the other side, coming straight towards us, are the dreaded holiday expenses. Although hopefully after this webinar, they're not going to be such a dreaded thing. But we're right in between the two, and sometimes it can feel a bit stressful being right in between the two things, right? It can kind of feel like, how am I supposed to recover from all this when I have all this right on the horizon? You guys came to the right place. This webinar is really aiming to give you all some insight into how to navigate this space. We're going to give you some tips on getting your budget back on track after it might have gotten a little bit derailed after the summer months. It's natural. Mine pretty much does it every summer too. It's totally human to spend a little bit more than we normally do during summer. We are also going to go over how to begin preparing for the upcoming holiday season, both financially and mentally. So stick around for all that. But right now, we are all probably feeling the dreaded spending hangover. This is a feeling a lot of us have, normally, especially after the summer months. Maybe we spent a lot of money and now we are feeling the effects of that money spent. So before we get into anything about the spending hangover, I want to share this with you all. While it is certainly time for accountability after having a high spending season, let's not forget that that high spending season probably was a lot of fun. If you traveled, that's a good time. If you got some home renovations done, that is a hugely successful thing that you checked off your box. And that can also sometimes be fun too. So dwelling on or regretting how much you spent, it's just not a proactive state of mind. And, if you traveled, if you celebrated a lot, if you did some fun home renovations, whatever it may be, let's try to not sully those memories with buyer's remorse because it was a good time. You can't unspend the money. And also, I'm going to share with you all my personal philosophy on life. So this is, if anyone ever asks me what the meaning of life is, this is my answer to that question. I have the secret right here. I personally believe that the meaning of life is to have as many of the good feelings as possible. Because what's the point otherwise? Life is not worth living without joy. So don't beat yourself up if you spent some money during the summer on things that brought you joy. You enjoyed it. You had that life that was lived, and that is a beautiful thing. However, it is time to get the budget back on track. That is a proactive way of thinking. So instead of thinking about how much you spent and dwelling on how much you spent. We want you to think again instead about moving forward. So we want to assess our spending. We want to gauge how much we spent in the summer, try to get an accurate idea of what the damage was through the summer expenses, and also try to get an idea of what most of the money went to, like what categories you spent the most in. So that way you'll know how to plan for that accordingly in the future. If you traveled or if you have a lot of birthdays in the summer or whatever it is, and you realize this summer maybe you spent a little bit more than you had allocated, that is nothing but a learning experience for next summer. But you're only going to know what those categories were if you actually assess your spending and know really what you overspent in the summer. We then want to update our budget. So we're going to talk a lot about that coming up here. But make sure when we're creating a new budget that you are also budgeting for saving, you're budgeting for future fun stuff, you're budgeting for debt repayment if you went into any debt in the summer. And speaking of debt, there are lots of strategies for paying off debt. Veronica, our very own Veronica, actually has a fantastic webinar that is all about this, which you can find on our YouTube channel. It is called Practical Debt Reduction Strategies. If you just search that in, or if you just type in Patelco Debt Webinar, anything in YouTube, it'll pop up. I really encourage anybody who is struggling with paying off debt to watch it. It's a whole hour just like this of just debt reduction strategies. I also encourage anyone who does have additional debt incurred after summer expenses to look into the ways that are out there to make that debt more manageable. So there's debt consolidation loans, there's balance transfers. You can pay above the minimum to reduce the principal balance. You can make debt reduction plans. So, tackling the highest interest debt first or tackling the smaller balances first to knock out all those. There's many options. This is not a debt reduction webinar, so I'm not going to get too in the weeds on that. But if you are interested, make sure you watch Veronica's Practical Debt Reduction Strategies webinar. Or if you need some more help, you can visit a Patelco CFS. We have our virtual branch. You can stop in any branch. We are a wealth of resources that are here to help you create your debt repayment plans. But right now, we're going to talk about creating a new budget. So I want to start this by saying that it is important to have a budget no matter what your earning is. Even if you can't save $1 every month, it's still important to know where your dollars are going. There's really no such thing as like not having enough money to have a budget. However, having a restrictive or like a counterintuitive budget can actually, in a lot of ways, do more harm than good because it can make you think, if it's unsuccessful, well, I tried budgeting, it didn't work, so I may as well just, go back to saying screw it and do whatever I want. And that's not a good mindset to be in. So we want to make sure that we have a budget that actually works for us and aligns with our needs and our habits, because that can actually be really liberating and can help you achieve a successful spending plan that you can stick with without having to overly think about it. You hear that align and achieve in there? That is the goal for today's webinar. So remember that when creating your budget, there can be room for anything. There just won't be room for everything. So we learn what to prioritize. We prioritize what's most important to us, and that is the key to a successful budget. Now, I'm going to give you some tips on how to create a successful budget that's going to benefit you both in the short term as well as the long term. These are just some tips and things that I like to think about whenever I'm creating a spending plan for myself. First and foremost, save before you spend. This is also known as pay yourself first, which I'm sure you guys have all heard myself and Veronica both say many, many, many times, but it is, I think, one of the number one keys to having a successful budget and also investing in your own future. So whatever you want to set aside for your saving, that should happen before you get into your spending money. Now, this is how I used to not budget. Like especially during college, the way that I budgeted was like, I would get my paycheck, I'd pay my rent, I'd pay my bills. I would then know that my needs were met. I would spend, whatever I wanted. And then whatever I had left over, maybe 20, 30 bucks, if anything, I would then toss that in savings. This was not productive for many, many reasons. Not only did it mean that I wasn't putting as much money away as I could have been, but I also wasn't really taking savings seriously because it just felt so low priority with that mindset. So on the same, side of that token, if I ever wanted to dip into the little savings that I had for whatever reason, a concert, a new gadget, whatever, I would do it without thinking twice because I just didn't really care about savings. It was such an afterthought. However, if you pay yourself first, if you contribute to your savings goals as soon as your direct deposit or your paycheck hits your account, not only will your savings goals be met, and you can have multiple savings goals. You can have an account for emergency savings, one for travel savings, one for holiday savings, which we'll talk about later. If you pay yourself in all those goals first, they will be met. It will become a habit. Your saving contributions will become habitual. And it will become something that you take a little bit more seriously because you've kind of bumped it up the priority chain, if you will. My next tip is to make sure that the goals that you set are realistic. So this is something that I still to this day sometimes struggle with a little bit, where like maybe I want to go on a vacation or I will want to buy something that is a little bit more expensive or outside my normal spending habits. I I've gotten better, but I still sometimes do this depending on what the thing is, will set such a like fast, lofty goal for myself that, essentially requires me to like live on scraps in order to, maintain the amount that I want to contribute to this goal. And I, whenever I do this, I don't know why I continue to do it because it goes the exact same way every time, which is for the first 2, 3 weeks, however long, I am super disciplined in achieving that goal. I am living on those scraps. I am budgeting every single, penny and making sure that everything is accounted for to a T so that I can live on these tiny little rations and contribute all this to this goal. And then after, a couple weeks, I start to feel how truly unsustainable that is. And I feel a sense of failure. Sometimes I scrap the goal altogether and I'm not actually achieving what I am setting out to achieve. So you want to make sure that the goals that you set are realistic. So you instead set yourself up for success. And this doesn't have to be just savings goals. It can be debt repayment goals, or it can also be spending goals. If you have goals for how much you want to spend in each category, another way to get your budget off on the wrong foot is to like way underestimate how much you spend in any given category. So I'm going to give you guys another example. I really love entertainment. I mentioned earlier I go to the movies a lot, but I also love live theater. I love live music. I love a good stand up comedy show. I love a museum. I love a zoo. I love a festival. I love an aquarium. I love being stimulated. So I spend a lot of money on doing stuff like that. If I were to just, without any research or looking at my spending habits, just arbitrarily tell myself, like, all right, I'm going to spend $50 a month on entertainment and that's it. That is really rigid and inflexible and not really realistic for me and my values because there are plenty of months where $50 will cover it. I'm not going to multi-$100 concerts every month, but then there are some months where it is going to be a little bit more. I am not even comfortable sharing how much I spent on Beyonce tickets last year. Like, if anybody asks me, my answer is always, "Don't worry about it. It's fine. I got it handled. We don't talk about it." That would not have fit in a $50 a month budget, though. I will at least make that point abundantly clear. So, in order for me to figure out what I should roughly try to budget or save for entertainment, I have to look at what I'm currently already spending in that entertainment category. So, this is what I suggest. First, calculate your income so you know exactly what money that you have to work with. Obviously, deduct bills, rent, all that stuff, so you know what you have left over. Next, you want to go through your transaction activity, maybe for the last 3 months, 6 months, whatever it takes to get a real kind of comprehensive view of what you're spending, and just get a general idea of what is coming out of your account regularly. After that, You figure out what you are spending in each category. So this includes not only the boring stuff like bills and groceries, but also on other things that you enjoy spending money on. If you are seeing areas that you think you're overspending in, then you can try to be more mindful of those areas. But it also, depending on what the thing is, might be a good indicator of what you value the most and what you enjoy spending your money on the most. And remember, life is about getting the most of the good things, the good feelings as possible. So you don't want to cut those things out entirely. You don't want to deprive yourself. You just want to be mindful. And finally, once we have all this data that we've collected, you want to set realistic goals based on the existing habits that you have. So, like I mentioned earlier, you might find that there are some habits that you currently have that you have to tweak a little bit, but you also now have a good idea of what you value, what you want to prioritize budgeting and saving for. And then you can build and structure your budget and your saving and your spending goals around those things so that when you do set these goals for yourself, they are things that are actually realistic based on, your spending habits and the things that you enjoy and that you prioritize. My third tip, do not forget to factor in irregular spending. So, budgeting for the basic stuff, just like a snapshot of what your monthly expenses look like, things like bills, mortgage, rent, that's all easy because it doesn't really change that much month to month, if at all. But there are things that hit you maybe only once a year or a few times a year that we sometimes forget to include in our budget. And there are also things that fluctuate in cost depending on the time of year as well. So these are things like annual subscriptions. If you have like a gym membership or any like app that charges you once a year, insurance premiums is another one. Groceries can fluctuate. Clothes also can really fluctuate depending on the time of year. Utilities, we talked about it earlier. Maybe you spend a lot more in AC in the summer and a lot more in gas in the winter. Travel and holiday spending, that's also what we're talking about today, obviously, too. So these are all things that can fluctuate. Utility bills, sometimes your water, waste, sewage comes out every 3 months instead of every month. Just things that don't quite fit into that once a month recurring budget are things that we want to not forget about. So what I do for this is I will do like a brain dump. I'll just put everything that I have down on paper with the date and the cadence or whatever I need that it comes out. And I make sure that I check it regularly. So I do have some apps, like I have a Headspace app and I have my All Trails app, another one that has like a recurring annual fee. I have those all written down. I know what dates they come out. I just check my subscriptions on my phone and it tells me. My gym membership also charges me an annual fee. I know when that is. So I check it, and that way I know, like, okay, August, I actually, on top of my regular budget, have this much coming out too. I need to make sure I allocate for that. Maybe you can, add another savings account for those kind of things if you need to. Whatever it takes to make sure that you are being inclusive of this irregular spending. The bottom line is that for things like this, really just being mindful about the irregular spending goes a long way because the worst thing that happens is you paid off your credit card or you paid off XYZ, you've put all your money into savings and you're like, great, I'm good. I maybe only have, $50 left over in my checking account until my next paycheck, but all my goals are met, all my savings is done. And then you are blindsided by a, $200 annual fee or insurance premium or something. So just being mindful about these irregular spendings will help you maintain a successful budget and will help keep you from getting discouraged. All right, another tip, make sure you use the right budgeting technique. So we've got paper budgets, electronic budgeting. This is like online mobile banking. There are some great digital budgeting apps out there. You can also use a spreadsheet. Make sure you find what works for you. You can try all these out and just find one that you can actually maintain. If you are not a tech savvy person, you should not force yourself to be. It's just going to cause you frustration. On the flip side to that, like I could not go into an Excel spreadsheet every month and type my stuff in or like fill out a check register. I just wouldn't do it. And if I'm not going to do it, then it's not going to happen. Michelle, who is our manager of our department here at Patelco, she loves her budgeting spreadsheets. That's what works for her. That is a success for her. Michelle, if you're still there, shout out to you. So it's really just about finding the right technique for you. If you are an app guy, as I myself am, my favorite budgeting app, which was Mint, I don't know if anyone here has ever used Mint. It has sadly been eaten by Credit Karma, and now it's just like not the same. But there are a few other ones out there as well. You Need a Budget does like a zero-based budgeting, framework that you can use. Pocket Guard is a great one. It kind of works the most similar to Mint as the other ones I've seen, where it categorizes your purchases for you and puts them in their varying categories and tells you how much you're spending in each bucket. Every Dollar is really good if you want an app, but you don't want to link your bank account directly. You do add everything manually, but it's still super easy and simple. The interface is really great. And then Patelco ourselves, for all you members out there, we also have really great budgeting tools on our online banking. Our online banking itself is a great tool. It's a great way to, check your history, make transfers as needed, and do whatever you got to do to manage your money. So budgeting can be very, very simple. You just need to make sure you are doing a technique that fits with you and aligns, there it is again, with your lifestyle and your habits. And my fifth and final tip for creating a new successful budget is to stop the negative habits. Recognize them and try your best as much as you can in your power to just, work around them. The number one negative habit that's out there is impulse purchases. I try not to go into a lot of like doom and gloom statistics, but I am going to talk about this one because $314 a month, $3,700, almost $4,000 a year, and $226,000 in a lifetime, that's crazy. I mean, those are staggering, staggering numbers. When I look at almost 4,000 a year, I could take 2 full vacations with that, So when you put it on paper into how much we actually do impulse buy, just walking at the store and putting things in our cart, when you look at it, it might make you think twice a little bit. Here are a couple of ways to kind of curb the impulse spending. First, question yourself. So if you are shopping around and you see something you really like, ask yourself if it fulfills a need, if you're going to be aversely affected in any way if you don't get it. Is it a long-term investment? Just listen to your gut, because your gut is always going to tell you the truth. You also want to beware of scrolling. So you also see on here that 2 out of 3 impulse buys happen in bed on a phone. If that is your trigger, if scrolling or advertising emails are what get you to impulse buy, unsubscribe and unfollow. I want to stop our comparison. So no one's financial journey is going to be the exact same as you. Just because you see someone who you think maybe is like a peer and they have really nice things and they're driving a great car and they appear to be living large, that doesn't mean that they are doing well financially. I know plenty of people who have a lot of nice stuff and take a lot of trips and are not as financially healthy as they maybe could be. So all we can really focus on is ourselves and just doing what's best for our lives and not someone else's. And last but not least, I will talk about this till I'm blue in the face because it changed my life, the 30-day rule. So if you do see something that you want to buy, don't tell yourself no. Don't say like, I can't buy this thing. Say, great, I'm going to buy this in 30 days. If it's on Amazon, you add it to your Amazon cart. If you're out shopping, take a picture of it. Make sure you have it set aside somewhere. But don't buy it right then. Just say, okay, I'm going to buy this in 30 days. I will come back and buy it. 9 times out of 10, you're going to forget about that item by day 3 or 4. And on the off chance that you don't, and it is something that really stands the test of time and you want it, it will help you develop some patience, which if you're like me, I am not the most patient person when it comes to waiting. So any way that I can kind of exercise that self-improvement muscle is much, much welcome. And it will also give you some time to research. So if you stumble upon like a, air fryer that you impulsively want, maybe in 30 days you still want one, but you've now had some more time to look into other options and find one that could be more affordable, could have better functions. So you're still getting this thing that you wanted. You just know that you have given yourself the time and the energy to research and find the actual best one. So it's also a win-win, and you still get what you want. And everyone's happy. All right. Another quote, because this is kind of my final tip, is to remind everyone just to stay positive when it comes to resetting your budget and realigning your budget. So just remember the quote, a positive attitude gives you power over your circumstances instead of your circumstances having power over you. Remember that you are in control of your own mindset. Positive and negative thoughts cannot occupy the same space. Now, we don't want to be delusionally positive or like unhealthily positive. Obviously, things happen in life and we have normal reactions to them. We're human. This is really just about kind of framing our baseline way of thinking into a positive one. Because I tell you this, if you have a positive frame of mind and just a positive standard mindset, the world works for you. You get what you put out. And if you are maintaining positive mindset, that positivity will then be returned. It is a self-fulfilling cycle. All right. Let's talk holiday spending. So now that we have gone over some of the ways to help with getting a budget back on track, we're going to dive into another budget killer that is just around the corner, which is holiday spending. And this is not just Christmas. Now, Christmas is in 91 days, which is crazy, but Halloween is in 36 days. And I don't know if anyone out there is anything like me, but Halloween can sometimes be more costly than Christmas. I really love Halloween. I like to go all out. I like to make my own costumes. And if I'm going to any kind of Halloween event or party, even if there's not a like established costume contest, there is always one going on in my mind, and I always have to win. So like I have been known to spend top dollar on making some crazy Halloween costumes. And I won't change. It's worth it to me. That is something that I prioritize highly. But I do want to start by saying that the holiday season, Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, this time of year should be an enjoyable time. So it's festivities, it's parties if you're into that, it's spending time with family, it's good food. It's supposed to be a fun, enjoyable time of year full of love and cheer. Hey, that rhymed. So I know the financial burden that we can feel can sometimes be stressful during this time of year, but I just want to challenge everyone to try not to lose sight of the fact that it is a joyful time and we should allow ourselves to feel that joy. So I want to go over a couple tips to try to make the holidays a little more joyful for everyone if this is something that you might struggle with. And if this is something that is catching your ear, we do have a couple webinars coming up in November and December that are all about holiday spending. So November 13th, Veronica is going to be doing a webinar that's all about kind of creative, outside the box gift ideas. And then December 4th, we are doing your annual holiday financial checkup, also hosted by Veronica. So if you are interested in these topics, we're going to send more emails and stuff out as that time comes. You'll be notified, but just get those dates on the calendar right now. November 13th, creative, outside the box, fun, cool, original holiday gift ideas. And then December 4th, of course, your holiday financial checkup. So, first, sentiment is greater than dollar value. This is also quality over quantity. This includes the number of gifts you're getting and also the amount that you're spending. So, if you find yourself frequently stressing about not being able to buy enough gifts or not buying nice enough gifts, try to focus instead on the motivators for why you are feeling stressed about that. Ask yourself, are you spending more than you can, maybe because you want to impress somebody? Do you want to be like looked at as the friend who gives the coolest and best gifts? No shame if that's the thing. I just said I want to be looked at as the person who has the coolest Halloween costumes. It's normal. Um, do you feel obligated to give these gifts? Do you have a fear of disappointing somebody, so you feel like you have to go above and beyond? Whatever it is, once you acknowledge what your triggers are and you really get to the root of why you feel the need to overspend around the holiday season, it does naturally start to lose its hold on you. It starts to lose its power a little bit. So when you have those thoughts that are like spend, 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 gotta buy, you're at least able to kind of take a step back and be like, I don't really need to buy this. I just kind of feel the need to, impress these people, whatever it may be. You then give yourself that space to kind of challenge yourself a little bit and reshape your thinking when it comes to the need to buy the Christmas gifts. However, when we do get our Christmas gifts, we want to have a spending plan. We want to have a Christmas or a holiday spending budget. So first, set your spending limits. You calculated your budget and you know for this year you can only spend $200 on Christmas gifts, then guess what? $200 is what you're spending on Christmas gifts. Period. End of discussion. No need to overthink it or to spiral beyond that. You've calculated it. That's what you can afford. That is the end of it. Second is to write out a list of who you plan to shop for and what you plan on purchasing for them. So now you know how much you can spend. This will help you allocate that money and kind of budget it, create that roadmap for who you're going to get gifts for and what you're going to get, and make sure it can all fit in that dollar amount. And third, no debt allowed. Avoid going into debt. I'm going to say this loud for everyone sitting in the back. Holidays are not a good reason to rack up credit card bills for many reasons, right? One, I mean, going into debt unnecessarily just isn't always the wisest choice. You may need that available credit later on down the road, God forbid, if an emergency happens. But also, like, it's just not that serious, right? It's Christmas. It's fun. We're here to, wear our ugly sweaters and drink hot cocoa and ja 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 sing Mary Chain. Like, why are we going into financial debt and going thousands of dollars into stress for a holiday that has a song about grandma getting run over by a reindeer? Like, you know what I mean? It's a fun, fun, not serious holiday. There is no need to make it anything more than what it is, which is just a silly holiday to spend with your friends and family. Now, this might be hard for some people out there to hear, especially those of you who are big gift givers, even sometimes at your own expense. But I'm sorry, I do have to say it. You are not Santa Claus. Santa has to get gifts for everyone and their mother on the face of the earth. You do not. I love my aunts. I love my uncles. I love my cousins. I love my extended family. They're great. Most of my friends love them. They're wonderful. Love y'all. But they don't make the Christmas cut every year. And that's okay. I cannot possibly, nor do I even want to buy gifts for every single person I know. And you shouldn't either. Nobody should feel that expectation to just make it rain Christmas gifts to everyone they've ever crossed paths with. So if you're struggling to budget for the holidays and you look at your list of people to buy for, and it includes a lot of people that are not in your immediate circle, it's time to make a few cuts. You know, if you do have some people that you need to get something for, but maybe they're not in your budget, a handwritten card really goes a long, long way. I'm going to say this also. I'll say this loud also for people sitting in the back. People don't like junk. They don't like just arbitrary nonsense that means nothing to them. So buying something for someone just for the sake of getting them a gift, for me, that's a big no-no. But if you get a simple card and handwrite a very nice, thoughtful message, even if it's, let's say, a coworker, and you just want to let them know how much you enjoy working with them and how you appreciate their help at work and how they make the job fun, I guarantee they will appreciate that 1,000 times more than, some little knickknack you got out of obligation. So just know your role in the whole Christmas thing, and it's not being Santa Claus. Also, it is never too early to start with Christmas spending. So if you find that every year the holidays come around and you don't have the funds you need to feel comfortable, start budgeting a little bit earlier than you normally would. You can create an additional savings account for this. Y'all know I'm a very big advocate for having different savings accounts for different purposes, different buckets that you're, putting things into. And just slowly add a little bit to it so that when the Christmas season comes around, you have a savings account or a set of money put aside that is specifically for that purpose. See, the bottom thing here is our Patelco Holiday Club. I'm going to talk about that in detail a little bit more, but it is a great product that we have that is solely just for this purpose. It's really easy to manage, and its main intention and really only intention is just to give you a little bit of extra padding for the holiday season. And then also, this is much easier said than done, but shopping throughout the year can really help as well. My aunt does this. Like every time she's out shopping, if she sees something that, me or my grandma or my mom, her sister would want, she just picks it up right then and puts it in a little closet. And every year around Christmas time, she is chilling. She's done. She's been done shopping since October because she started in January. She has the most stress-free Christmases every year. Every year I say I'm going to do the same thing, and every year I don't. This year I also didn't. Maybe next year will be the year. Who knows? But it is something to think in mind, because it can, space your purchases out, feel like less of a financial burden all at once. and can also, ease the blow a little bit when the stress of having to buy everything in a short period of time comes. And last but not least, be flexible and get creative. So you're going to see this first little block here, give photos of items. This is for all you last minute shoppers that are out there. That is the same category that I fall into. How many of us do our Christmas shopping on Amazon? We go on Amazon maybe like a week before Christmas, start trying to add things to our cart, and every single thing says, warning, will arrive after Christmas. Warning, will arrive after Christmas. Estimated arrival January 12th or whatever. It's not going to make it on Christmas. We get bummed. If that thing is what you want to get them, you know they're going to like it. You know that it fits in your budget. It's speaking to you. Who cares if it doesn't show up on time? Again, it's not that serious. Christmas is not that serious. I've done this so many times. I print the picture out of the thing I'm going to get them. I still buy it. So it comes January 3rd, 12th, whatever. I print it out. I'll put it in a little card, in a little gift bag, maybe in a box and wrap it up. And then, when they open it, I just say like, oops, I waited too long. It'll be here on this date. And we have a good laugh about it. It's fun. They're still happy. They still understand the sentiment. Everybody wins. Sentimental gifts are also something that I advocate for very strongly. And I feel like this is something Veronica is going to talk about a lot in her creative gift giving ideas. But, if it's for a loved one, a framed photo of you together or a keepsake that you took, from a trip that you took together. If you bake, maybe some baked goods. If you knit, if you crochet, if you paint, something handmade. Gifts that truly mean something can, one, be inexpensive and can also feel a lot more valued and a lot more personal. So look at some sentimental gift ideas over, material ones as well. I am a big advocate for experiences over things. So if you have the means to buy a concert or a theater or a sporting event ticket for you and your loved one, that's something I always personally love to receive because it's an experience we can share together. But if you don't have those means, because a lot of those tickets are pricey, I pay for a lot of them for myself and I tell you I'm not buying two. I'll buy one for me and then you can buy one for you. But I will plan a picnic or I'll find some free stuff to do, around where you live, and go out for like a sightseeing day. I'll plan a day and plan a shared experience we can have. I live in San Francisco. I promise you guys, it is not that bad out here. On any given day, there's so much fun stuff that you can do in the city. So for those of you, and I'm assuming it's most of you that live in the Bay Area, hop on a train, whatever it takes, come on out to the city. You can look at the sea lions. You can walk around Golden Gate Park. You can go to the beach. There's stuff in the Mission District. There's lots of little, street vendors everywhere. You can plan a really fun day being a tourist in your own city for very, very little money. And it still is a very thoughtful experience that you share together. And again, it really is the thought that counts. And then last year, have honest conversations. So honest conversations, just conversations about expectations. My mom stresses about Christmas gifts more than anybody I know. Like it's paralyzing. It's contagious. Sometimes she'll get really stressed and I'll get really stressed as a result. So a couple years ago, I just said like, Mom, let's just not do Christmas gifts anymore. You don't buy me anything. I won't buy you anything. We'll call it even. And that'll be that. It has helped reduce her Christmas stress so much. Mine also, it's one less person I got to buy for, and that's, fine with me. Everybody wins. I had a couple roommates that the three of us were, thick as thieves. And we also had a conversation around Christmas. Like, do we want to get gifts? Do we want to do something else? We decided the three of us would just go to a really nice dinner, went to a Brazilian steakhouse, had that as our, Christmas outing, and then came back and watched a Christmas movie together. And that was our Christmas. Again, we paid for the dinner, but there were no gifts involved. There was no extra stress. So just because buying gifts is like the thing you do around Christmas time, it's the societal standard, does not mean that you have to do that also. You can make whatever Christmas traditions you want and do whatever you want for Christmas. So if you are stressed about Christmas and your husband or wife or relatives are also stressed about Christmas, try just sitting down and saying, like, you know what? Let's opt out. You can do that. That's an option that's available to you. And I bet a lot of them are going to be pretty receptive to that idea. So Last little quote I have before I start talking about some resources real quick. You become what you give your attention to. This is a little nugget that you can take with you and apply to any aspect of your life. Anything is within your reach if you consciously make the effort to give it the necessary attention. And that means anything. I'm talking to you watching, can do whatever you want. You can do anything you want if you just set your mind to it and give it the attention that it deserves. And this transcends budgeting. If you decide that you want to create a strong budget and that's something that is important to you, go for it. Set your mind to it, it'll happen. If you just say, I want to have a positive mindset, that's something that I really want to commit to doing. If you commit to it and you truly, truly give it the energy and the attention, you will become that. It goes for every aspect of life. So just know when you leave here, you are literally capable of anything. All right. A couple resources that we have. First, our podcast, Small Talks for Big Change. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify podcasts. If budgeting is your, bread and butter, we do have a really good episode that also features yours truly, the Saver Splurger Dilemma, Finding Balance in Your Budget. You can search for that one and listen to it. There's also a lot of really good ones for any other financial topic that might be of interest to you. Spring 4 is a great partnership that we have. It can connect you with local, trusted nonprofit and government resources that may help you save money and reach your financial goals. Balance offers great financial education information and resources. There's financial toolkits on there. You can do online chats with certified balance counselors who can help you with any kind of financial tidbits that you're struggling with. There's also some really good self-guided coaching things on there. So lots of resources there available. You can also go to patelco.org/financial journey and set up an appointment with any one of our certified financial coaches. So if you want to keep it all in house, you want to go into a branch or do a virtual branch and be face to face with an actual Patelco employee, patelco.org/financial journey. Go ahead and set yourself up an appointment with one of our certified financial coaches. All the other resources can also be found on our website as well, just www.patelco.org. I teased this earlier, but our Patelco Holiday Club is the easiest way to save for the holidays. So basically the way it works is you can open it up whenever. It's kind of like a CD or like a certificate of deposit to where you can't pull the money out, but you can put money into it. You will set up a minimum recurring deposit of at least $20, but it can be more each month. Funds become automatically deducted from your checking account or whatever account you link into it for however amount you set the contribution limit to be. You can change it throughout the year. So maybe if you want to start really aggressive in the beginning of the year and then around summer, dial it down to, $20-$30 or something lower, and then increase it again towards the holidays, you can do that. There are no fees with it. You just grow your holiday savings without worrying about monthly fees. And it is a locked in account. So it's really just there for holiday savings. You don't have that temptation to pull out of it for anything that comes, along the way. And then November 15th, that CD or that holiday account becomes accessible. You can pull it out, start doing your Christmas shopping. And if you start November 15th when it's ready, you're going to be done by December. And then guess what? You can enjoy the rest of the holiday season without stress. That is all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for attending. My name is Andrew Farrell. If you have any questions, webinars@patelco.org is our email address. You can shoot us any questions that you have, and we will make sure somebody reaches out to you. Veronica, take it away.
I just wanted to say that was a fantastic job, but I wanted to let you know that I had heart palpitations when you put up the slide that said I was not Santa Claus.
I'm sorry. I have to hit you with some truth
You
bombs,
didn't even
Veronica.
warn me. It was like, oh my God. So many great tips, so practical, so personal, so in depth. I'm just so grateful for you and your leadership and the budgeting tips. I especially loved that we can opt out, that we don't necessarily have to do this.
You don't have to do nothing.
And my favorite part was that you spent more on Halloween than Christmas.
I was a jellyfish last year for Halloween. I think you might have saw the picture, Veronica. There was like moving parts to it There were lights. It was an operation, to say the least.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you, members, for attending our webinar. And Andrew, you did an excellent job. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm sure our members did too.
Thank you.
So good night, everybody.
Good night.